There's nothing inherently wrong with those. Those can be good things, but the way that they are utilized is what makes them good or bad. Hi guys, Geeker64 here, and today we're going to be talking about Star Trek. I'm pretty sure my badge gave that away, that in the thumbnail. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Picard, specifically Season 2, Episode 2. I'm going to be reviewing it, and yeah, we're going to be talking about it. The reason why I'm calling this video Picard Rips Off Star Trek is because Picard Season 1 ripped off Mass Effect. I talked about it whenever it was going on. I did watch Picard. I really didn't like Picard Season 1. I think hate would be appropriate for it. It was really, really bad. There were a couple moments I liked, but overall that was just a complete mess. Star Trek Discovery is the same way. And yeah, so I don't like where New Trek is. Now, if you like it, that's cool. I'm not trying to take away your enjoyment, but I love Star Trek, the TNG era, DS9, Voyager, all that stuff. So I am a real Star Trek fan. Now, I will preface with this. Season 2 so far, 2 episodes in, is better than anything I've seen from New Trek. It's better than anything I saw in Discovery, and it's better than anything I saw in Picard Season 1. So they are making some improvements, and that's good, and we need to commend that as fans. We need to prod them in the right direction. We need to congratulate stuff when it's good, and we need to point out and critique things when they're bad, because otherwise these creators aren't going to know. Because in my opinion, the writers, the people involved in this, the creatives around Star Trek don't understand Star Trek. This season of Picard did bring on a new writer, and he seems to be doing a good job of at least making something that is coherent story-wise. Now, I don't know how big of a Star Trek fan he is. It would be nice if you got real Star Trek fans in the writer's room who understand the lore and know more than what's on a Wikipedia page about Star Trek. Honestly, it's like what I said in my last review. I'm one of those fans who just continually goes back to Star Trek and wants it to be better, and Picard, Star Trek just keeps slapping me in the face.
Larry!
Larry, you can't just... Oh,
Larry! Oh, are you all right? How did...
Larry!
Please stop slapping me in the face. I want to like your stuff, okay? Like I said, Picard Season 1 ripped off Mass Effect. Picard Season 2 is ripping off Star Trek. How can you rip off your own franchise? Well, the people involved weren't involved in the original one, and it just feels like a worse version of stuff we've already seen. But at least you're ripping off from your own franchise, and you're not ripping off from another franchise, so that's a good thing. The reason why I say this is a worse version is this literally takes from so many other things. This is Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. This is Star Trek First Contact. You got Q in here. Obviously, the Borg's involved. You got alternate realities, which has happened before. This is the mirror universe from Star Trek. Basically, it's just a slightly different version of the mirror universe, but it's basically the exact same thing. So it's just they're ripping off other things, and they even talk about that. In the beginning of this episode, Q references episodes of Star Trek. He says, he mentions the Yesterday's Enterprise, which is a great episode of Star Trek TNG. He says, this isn't Yesterday's Enterprise. That's oddly on the nose, mentioning an episode. mentioning an episode. And he also mentions Mirror Darkly, which is the mirror universe. So yeah, it's like, yeah, obviously Q would kind of know that stuff, but the fact he said Yesterday's Enterprise and is literally naming episodes of Star Trek is kind of funny, because it's almost like Q realizes he's on a TV show. At least that's the way it came across to me when I was watching it. So yeah, I thought that was kind of goofy. And I guess Picard basically mentions the fact that there's something wrong with Q. Like he's kind of crazy. Q slaps Picard. He slaps him in the face and makes him bleed. I'm like, what? Q would never do that. Like, think about his meeting with Cisco in the DS9 episode, when Cisco punches him in the face, and Q's like, oh, well, good. You're really easy to provoke, you know? And so, yeah, Q would never do that. So, yeah, I guess they're trying to set up maybe something's wrong with Q. Yeah, so Q's basically showing around to this new alternate universe, which is basically just the mirror universe, slightly different for whatever reason. Because, well, I mean, we all know the reason why, because it's not technically an alternate reality. It's a change in the timeline, which you pretty much kind of got at the end of the first episode. But it's basically an alternate reality. It's basically just a slightly different version of the mirror universe. So yeah, Q's basically giving him this tour of some of the stuff that's going on. He literally takes him to a skull room where this alternate version of Picard keeps the skulls of all of these people that he took out, and there's references to Deep Space Nine characters, which, you know, I'm a big DS9 fan. I love TNG and DS9. Those are my two favorite shows from Star Trek. And, you know, it was cool seeing the actual Gul Dukat mentioned, and kind of how this alternate version of Gul Dukat was. And they even mentioned General Martok from DS9, which was cool. And who else did they mention? They mentioned Sarek. That kind of referenced back to TNG and Sarek's relationship with Picard, which was interesting. But it's kind of it was cool, but at the same time, you know that these are just kind of here to be like, remember, this is Star Trek. Remember, this is Star Trek. Remember all of these other characters that are more interesting than what we're doing here, more interesting than these new characters that we're doing, and all these stories that we could be telling that are obviously far better than whatever's going on here. At least that's how it feels to me. You know, the fact with member berries, with the nostalgia stuff and the references and stuff like that, those are well and good. There's nothing inherently wrong with those. Those can be good things, but the way that they are utilized is what makes them good or bad. Because at the end of the day, it's just little cherries on top of the sundae. They're little cherries on top of the milkshake. You know, if the milkshake sucks, or the sundae sucks, it doesn't matter if the cherry's good, because the rest of it is terrible. You need the story. You need a good story and good characters, and you need a fundamental understanding of Star Trek in order to make those things be more than what they come across as, which is just an idea of better stories and better characters and times gone by when things were more Star Trek related, in my opinion. And really, this whole episode is basically just going through with these characters and seeing where they're at. So Q apparently pulled all of the main characters from Picard season 1 into the alternate timeline. And I think it's kind of weird, because, like, what about all the other characters? What about all the red shirts that were on the Stargazer that got destroyed? Why did Q specifically pick these characters, who some of them weren't even on the Stargazer when it went up in the first episode? So it's like, did Q watch the first season of Picard? Like, is Q a representation of fans who are like, you know what, we're going to give you a second chance. We're going to pull all these characters out and we're going to redo them again. And maybe we'll do it better this time. Because why would he just only pull these specific people? It's kind of strange. I don't know. Anyway, Picard doesn't really want to play ball with Q and whatever he's going on about. And it just kind of sets up, oh, you have to have penance and all this other stuff, and acting, you know, in standard Q fashion, I guess. But he's basically testing Picard. That's the whole setup here. And so Q just leaves him, Picard's by himself there. Then we move on to some of the other characters. 7 of 9 is president of the Confederation, which is... yeah, the Confederation. I thought it was kind of goofy. But like, one of the first things she asks about after when she wakes up and is like, figures out, hey, this isn't a dream. And she's like, oh, where's Rafi? It's like, really? That's the first character that you're really going to think about? I really hope they don't bring up this forced romance that they did. I mentioned this in my last episode. I really didn't like that really weird forced romance in the last 20 seconds that they tried to throw in at the end of season 1 of Picard. So I hope they don't really do anything with that. So 7 of 9 is trying to figure out, you know, what's going on. So she starts to reach out to you know, some of the other people that she knows to see if maybe they were pulled here too. And she reaches out to Rios. They make a mention of Cisco, which is, again, it's cool. It's cool to have these little, like, Easter eggs and little things in here. But again, if there's no substance, it doesn't matter. So, you know, that's nice, but, you know, I'm not going to get sucked into your stupid member berries, okay? Anyway, 7 contacts Rios, who is on his old ship for some reason, which also exists here, and they're using it to attack Vulcan, I think. Him and 7 realize, hey, you know, we don't know what happened. Come back to Earth. So Rios comes back to Earth. Then we get Rafi and Elnor, and apparently there's an attack that's happening in Okinawa against this, and they say, hey, it's for all these planets that were destroyed, you know, Cardassia and Romulus and blah, blah, blah. And this woman just explaining to Eleanor, hey, hey, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, this is what's happening, and then she just gets taken out instantaneously. It's supposed to be serious, but I just kind of found it was funny that she's literally just yelling to Eleanor about all these planets that were destroyed, and this is the reason all these buildings are being destroyed. And he's like so confused as to what's happening, and this woman just gets taken out instantaneously. Like, okay, well, thanks for the exposition, lady. Then we get the drummer from Scott Pilgrim, who's back again, and I make no secret, this is the worst character this is the worst new character, like, by far. I wish they'd just written this character out, maybe brought in somebody else for season 2. I think that would have been good. Most of these characters I think are salvageable on some levels. I think Rios, he was the one with the most potential out of season 1, and I think Rafi has some potential as well. So, in Eleanor, same thing. There's some potential there to do something. I don't see any potential in this character. This character literally murdered somebody in cold blood. I just don't like her. I don't like the drummer from Scott Pilgrim, okay? Anyway, Seven goes down and meets her, and then they drag out the Borg Queen who's been captured. And it's the original Borg Queen. She's not the one that looks like Ivan Ooze, like at the end of the last episode.
Woo! Where's my autograph book?
And speaking of that, the whole Ivan Ooze Borg Queen, I've seen this be floated around after I recorded my video, that the Borg Queen's probably Picard's mom. That sounds like something stupid that they would come up with. That sounds like a really stupid idea that current New Trek would probably do. But I'm hoping that they don't do something that stupid, because that is dumb as hell. The reason I didn't mention it in my episode 1 review is because, okay, so the Borg Queen literally says look up, which is the same thing that his mom said in the flashback, which was a terrible flashback, by the way. I noticed that when I watched it. I chalked it up to the fact the Borg assimilated Picard, Locutus of Borg, right? The Borg have all of his memories, including memories of his mother, right? So the fact that the Borg Queen said that, she has all memories of him, so that's what I was hoping. Like, if it was smart writing, that's probably the way that I would go with it. If it was dumb writing, they'll try and make the Borg Queen into Picard's mom, which is dumb as hell. I hope they don't do that. Anyway, the Borg Queen, obviously, she's got knowledge of, like, the time shifts and things like that. She specifically says, where the time divergence is. She says it's in 2024 in LA, and they're looking for something called the Watcher. So I don't know why the Borg Queen's being vague. Oh yeah, we got to seek out the Watcher in 2024 LA. What? Like, that is so vague. Like, who's the Watcher? Does the Borg Queen know and she's purposely being vague? Or is that just the writers conveying through the Borg Queen, hey, mystery, let's go solve the mystery. Who's the Watcher? That's probably what it is, to be honest. Or they could just be talking about the Watcher from the Marvel Universe. That'd be good. Huh. I am working on a X-Men Star Trek crossover comic review and breakdown about the good times in Star Trek, so look out for that. Now, they mentioned the fact that they're going to have to time travel, and Picard specifically mentions Kirk going back in time and mentions basically the voyage home, Star Trek 4, and they say that Spock was the reason why, because of his calculations. Spock was the reason why they were able to do that. And they don't have Spock, so they're like, well, we're going to have to use the Borg Queen. And that's kind of their excuse for bringing the Borg Queen along. Fine, but there's a way better way to write that, okay? The Borg Queen could have just said, I know where the divergence is. You're going to have to take me along in order for me to give you that information, and I'm also able to time travel us back to that point because our mutual interests are aligned or something to that effect, right? The Borg Queen's very smart. Having that conversation, that makes perfect sense. That's why she would go along. That would make more sense than this, because the fact that they're like, well, Spock is the only one who can make these calculations. Like, I like Spock as much as the next Star Trek fan, but Seven of Nine can also make calculations like that on the fly very fast. I mean, she was the one who was calculating a lot of stuff during Voyager Slipstream and has been known to be able to do fast calculations. I'm pretty sure she can make calculations as fast as Spock, but then again, maybe they just forgot about that. I will say one of my favorite things in this episode is the fact that Picard actually gives some direction, actually takes charge and gives commands. It's almost like for a second there, the classic Picard was back. There was so much belittling of him and his character in the first season, where everybody yelled at him and put him down and said he was terrible and this, that, and the other thing. He never really took command or anything. And you saw part of it in episode 1 of this season, where they asked him, what they should do with the Borg showed up. And he said, I don't know. Picard would not say that. So there's just so many instances in which the character of Picard has been destroyed and belittled based on bad writing. So at least there was a moment here where whenever they can't transport out because of security measures that were brought up for this event that they're about to have, and they can't transport out, and Picard's like, you two do this, and then we'll do this. And I was like, wow, Picard's back. He actually gave commands. I can't believe it. Unfortunately, it just leads back to them being on the Rio's ship from the first season. I don't like this ship. It's not Star Trek to me. It's more Mass Effect related than it is Star Trek related. And I really wish that the Stargazer, they were just back on the Stargazer. Why couldn't they, if they have an alternate version of Rio's ship, why couldn't they just have an alternate version of the Stargazer that they get on? Actually have them on a Starfleet ship, please. I would have liked that better. I don't really like the Rio ship personally. But anyway, those are kind of my thoughts on season 2, episode 2 of Picard. Overall, again, this is better than anything I saw in season 1 of Picard or Discovery or any of that stuff. So we're moving in the right direction. The reason why I'm kind of getting heated on certain things is because it does feel like they're kind of throwing fan servicey things out there as distraction, like dangling keys. And again, it's cool that you kind of put that in there for fans, but you really need to just tell a solid story. I'm not really sure what direction this is going in. It seems like the rest of the season is probably going to take place in 2024. And, I guess that maybe that's for budget reasons. I have no idea. But again, it's not really Star Trek related from my perspective. These writers, I don't know if they can write Star Trek anymore. So this is just kind of one of those lazy things in my opinion, but we'll see where it goes. Maybe they won't be in 2024 the whole time. Maybe it'll just be a couple episodes and they'll move on to something else. Maybe it'll be a time-hopping adventure. Who knows? We'll wait and see what they decide to do. What do you guys think? Have you guys been watching the new season of Picard? Do you agree with me that it is better than the first season of Picard? Are you liking it? Like I said, I'm kind of nitpicking some of the stuff here in this episode. Overall, this episode really wasn't that bad. This was a mediocre episode, and at this point, I'm perfectly okay with a mediocre Star Trek episode. But because the fact that Star Trek is no longer episodic, you basically have to take, the whole season as a whole. So we'll wait and see where it fits into the puzzle overall for the season. We'll just have to wait and see. So if you're interested in more Star Trek videos, I got some recommended at the end of this video. One of the ones I would highly recommend is the video essay I did on New Trek versus DS9 dark story writing in Star Trek, because I think that pretty much sums up the New Trek and what's kind of wrong with it. Other than that, I just want to thank subscribers. You guys are awesome, and I want to thank everybody for checking out this video. I'll probably continue to do reviews, so look forward to those. And if you like this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff, or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm D-True64, and I'll always tell you the truth.